Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight in our Chom's um, Medi Helps Foundation inaugural event where we are actually doing 4 weeks. This is, I was, and it tired me out doing doing a video, trying to do a video through the most important months for African Americans, which was Kwanzaa and Black History Month. Sorry everyone. I finally took a break, and I was forced to take a break because of my health. And as everyone knows, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So I had to fill my cup up. And once I filled my cup up, I was like, you know what? I'm not going backwards. I'm going forward. So I actually am putting myself back on the, Charms Medi Helps Foundation weekly videos, where we'll be doing a weekly video each week. Each month we will take from what the health observances is for that particular month, and we'll be putting the information out. This particular month, the month of May, of course, is Women's Health Month. And you might be saying to yourself, well, daggone, Sandra, how many months y'all have? Well, to be really honest with you, if we can have all 12, I'd do all 12. Right? But this month is Women's Health Month, which is different than Women's History Month. So I thank you so much, whether you're watching this today, as we're doing this live, whether you're tuning in to, tomorrow, whatever day you're tuning in on, you're taking the time to actually watch our videos. And for that, we actually truly do, we at Chom's Medi Helps, truly do appreciate you taking the time to watch. I do want to add this disclaimer, and that is that Chom's Medi Helps, we are not a medical company. We are also not a healthcare company. What we do is we have what we believe in, and our mission is built on, is making sure that our community, right, they receive information. When I say our communities, those communities that are underserved, marginalized, or disabled. Those are communities that we're closely attuned to, aligned with. And so the information that we give out, the healthcare and medical information that we give out, that's who our intent is to be reached, so that everybody has the same information and has the same access to quality healthcare. And when I say quality, I mean the best of the best healthcare. Not one patient should not have the option of receiving that healthcare. And so having that option is one of the reasons why we also are into making sure that our communities are aware of the medical and the healthcare resources that we have at our disposal and that we're not using, and that what happens when we don't use them is that they move into a different community, and guess what? It's not coming back. So to keep that from happening and be proactive and be on it, and making sure the communities have the best and have the resources that they need, that is our mission. And that's what we draw on. So once again, we are not a medical company. We're not a healthcare company. We're all about information and resources. So now that I'm off my spiel, I am, bringing to everyone on this video this evening a senior subject matter expert. When I say quilting with love, I named this Quilting with Love, this particular video series, Quilting with Love, because the project that she's going to tell us about tonight is QUILT. That's the name of the project. However, when I look at it from my standpoint, and from the standpoint that my baby making days are over, they're never coming back, right? And so many other people in our community, we don't have kids, or we have grandkids, or we don't want kids. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take the love that's in our hearts and use it in a correct direction, in a correct method, in a correct procedure to actually help those, right? Give a listening ear. I mean, it doesn't cost you a penny to give a listening ear and say, how can I help? What can I do to make sure that our communities, our mothers to be, and our mothers who have lost their babies, that they know that we're here for them, right? So that's why I titled this Quilting with Love, because it takes a whole community to love on someone, especially when they've gone through the process of losing a child or themselves have lost life, right? So you got the dads and everyone else who's now here while the mom has lost her life during the fetal maternal months. So, with that being said, I'm going to stop talking right now and I'm going to turn this over to my girl Nneka. I'm going to have her introduce herself and then we'll start hearing what she's doing in the fetal maternal field. So, Nneka, is all on you.
Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. And QUILT is one of my organizations, one of my projects, my very first project, that I should say, first of many. One that started off, it never should have become an organization. That's not what I meant to do. It was supposed to be a one and done event, but you know how it is when you can't get people on the same page, and this one doesn't want to work with that one, and that one doesn't want to work with the other one, and so on and so forth. So, QUILT, which stands for Quietly United and Lost Together, which was actually named by my org members, by the people on the air quote Facebook QUILT page, um, is an organization that supports families from who suffer the loss of an infant from conception through age 2. Um, and from QUILT came the Advocate Series, which is an organization which teaches people to support that demographic. And then from the Advocate Series was born Mother is Supreme, which is my overarching organization at this point. NECA means Mother is Supreme, or My Mother is Supreme. So I chose to name my overarching organization after myself, whereas QUILT is my the child that I lost breath and life, I should say. Her life force has been poured into that organization. Um, One of the hardest things that any parent has to do is to give a child back, is to bury a child, cremate a child, um, have a brief moment with a child, etc., and continue to move forward with their own lives. So, providing support to those and teaching others who are working with that demographic or supporting that demographic how to further support that demographic, and educating on the different layers that are interwoven within the maternal health space. Because, of course, when everything is going, is happy, happy, joy, joy, people are full speed ahead and everyone is around. However, when things are not as they should be, healthy mother, healthy birthing person, healthy baby, take home baby, long lives afterwards, then everyone's there until the funeral, if they make it to that point. And then that family is left after the funeral to pick up the pieces and move forward and find their footing and develop their different roads and avenues. And that's where QUILT and Pale Advocates come in to play, to support them and to guide them and to teach them how to um, take those baby steps, per se, and to understand that they are still parents to those deceased children, which is one of the hardest things for people who have not gone through this to understand, because we love to hear our children's names. We are still sort of in a space of, while they're not physically here with us, we're in a space of remembering them, constant remembrance. And what people do not understand is that we live, and there are milestones that our living children, should we have living children, reach. that they never will. And then those are the moments that we find very challenging as well. So, understanding that we know where to go, what mental health clinicians to send people to, understanding that one of the I won't say dumbest questions, but one of the questions that caused me to pause that I've heard repeatedly over the past 13, almost 14 years since I lost my daughter, has been, did you have to give birth? And, trying to find humor in the ignorance of others, to the point where I now say, well, Scotty wasn't there to beam her out of me yet. So, yes, I had to give birth. And also, for people to understand that the postpartum period is not for the child, it is for the person who has given birth. So once you're pregnant, then you're not. You are postpartum by every facet of the meaning of postpartum, and you deserve to rest and recover, in whatever way that looks like in your culture. So, that's a bit about me. I am a doula turned maternal health advocate turned public health advocate. Um, and it has been quite an interesting ride.
Mm. I can just imagine it's been an interesting ride. And what I do want to ask you, and I thank you, I so thank you for telling, like I said, I let you tell your story. I picked up on quilt, right? But I knew from talking to you and having repeated conversations that there's so much more to you than quilt. But we needed to make sure that moms or dads, whoever's out listening, who are going through that process right now, we need to make sure that they know, once again, we're about resources. So we need to make sure that they know that, what, that lady that was on, she was on LinkedIn, she was talking about this. Maybe you could reach out to her and maybe she can get some help, because that's one of the, difficulties in the communities, in the under resourced, in the in the marginalized, right? In the underserved communities, right? And some people might say, well, I'm not, ain't those the same thing, the same communities? And actually, to me, and this is my opinion, they're not. And under the resource area is an area that does, people, mixed people, the social economic is mixed. However, the resources for our community, the Black and Brown community, are not there, or either they are there and there's so many of us that just don't know where to find them, right? The underserved area, that the underserved area is us, right? It's, I mean, be honest, anybody that falls within the federal, underneath the federal poverty level, which a lot of times the majority is us, right? African Americans is us. We need, those are the under resource areas, right? I'm not under, those are the underserved areas, right? And then we have the marginalized areas. Some of us make decent money. We're at 6, 7 figures, whether it's by ourselves or whether it's with our spouses, right? But we're still marginalized because that money that they're looking at, that's what we got to put down. When you say, how much do you make? We got to put it down, right? But at the end of the day, if we're paying for medical expenses, or we're paying for school, or we're paying for anything, paying our student loans off, or anything that we're paying off, our income becomes a mute point because we're marginalized and we don't have the access to those services that we should have the access to, and so that's where we're coming from. And that's why I wanted to actually go make sure that I got quote in there, right? But like I said, I know you're a senior subject matter expert. I know that because the people that I actually ask and that say that Sandra will help you, will give our time, will do what we need to do to make sure we can get this point across, are all people that have been in the fields. I would never once have, I could go get Jody Blow down the street and say, hey, could you come on and do a video? But the communities that I just mentioned, we already have the short end of the stick. So why would I continue to feed us the short end of the stick, right? So we're gonna go back to all of the things that you do, right? And I'm gonna ask you, how can we that are not in that area, right? Before I say this, what I do want to say is, if you're listening to us, whether you're listening on Facebook or whether you're listening on LinkedIn, if you could please, if you have a comment, you got a question, if you could please just let us know, that would be beautiful, so that we can get it answered. If we end this video and you like, you know what, I do have a question and I do know somebody that can actually use the help that they're given, send me an email, send me a DM, go to my website. Nneka at the end is going to give you her website information as well, so that you can outreach us. But I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Nneka, and I know I didn't prepare you for the questions by sending you a list, but I know how beautiful you are, and I know you're going to actually answer them well. So this is my first question to you: is how can we help those of us that are like, we don't have a baby, we don't know what we know because we read, right? Okay, the numbers are statistically bad, but how can we help? Like, what can we do? What are some of the things? You just brought up something that someone asked you, and I'm sitting here shaking my head like, no, they didn't.
Yeah,
Like,
they
did you
did.
really have to get
Did you really have to give birth?
really have to give birth? And that's
And and I'm like, she was 39 weeks, okay?
right.
Of course I had to give birth.
Right. So it's like, what kind of questions? Look, if you can give us three questions that we can ask someone that we know that's in that situation, and three that we should never ever ask, because it's a slap in it's a slap in the mom's face. Because even if she, delivered and something happened to the baby, she's still a mom. We're not going to take that away from her. She's still a mother. She still gave birth. She still had a child. And like you just stated a little while ago, that stays, you'll always remember that baby, right? It,
Of
it
course.
always stays
She's
with
the
you.
loudest child I'll ever have because her silence
It's
reverberates.
right.
It's so loud. Her absence. I mean, case in point, last weekend when I had my event,
Mm-hmm.
um, I saw my living children together,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking, and there was a chair. There's always a space. It's almost as though they divide in according to age, and there's always a space where Anaya should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I don't think they do it intentionally. I don't know whether it's just their bodies that do it, but it's just the craziest thing to me. And then I could just be seeing things. Who knows? I'm 50. Who knows? And I'm on that other side of things too. Thank God. Somebody would have to pay me 8, 9 figures to
Mm-hmm.
do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But one thing that I have to say is there are entirely too many, at least, statements when it comes to any kind of adverse pregnancy outcome. At least you didn't get to know them. At least you didn't take them home. At least you lost them in infancy. Um, Another thing not to do is don't bring in religion. God best. God wanted her for herself, for himself. God. No, and the only thing that's gonna do is turn that person away from God when they need to be leaning in to their spiritual base to move forward through the experience. Um, Also, that whole isolating, making them feel like they're weird for not wanting to dismantle the nursery or not wanting to get rid of the baby things. For me, I came home and everything had to go. But that was just me. Not everyone is like me, because I had a nephew who was married and they were about to have a baby a couple months later. I also had a cousin who had a baby a few months before me in two different regions. So everything that I had that was Anaya's for winter went to my cousin in North Carolina, and everything that all of the rest of the summer things went to my nephew in Florida. Two different climates. But that was just my decision because I didn't want to look at the stuff. For others, they might need to take time to reach that point of closure, and it's okay. Grandparents, I know you do not want your child to be hurting, and you think that by them seeing the nursery, that's going to hurt them, or seeing the stuff that's still left in the living room from that baby shower. But that's not your job. You do not decide to take the keys and go empty things out. The only thing that's going to do is cause a rift. So you follow their lead. So those are a few things not to do. What can you do? I love to see someone, instead of constantly asking, "How are you?" just go and sit. Sit in silence. Allow for them to cry if that's what they want to do. Turn your ear and have a listening ear, because it's very hard to sit in silence. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's the hardest thing in the world to sit in
I have.
silence. And one thing we have to realize is, if you're an elder, I love you elders, I respect you elders, I respect you, but I'm getting ready to tell you something. Stop sharing what you used to do, because those days are gone. And that did not do anything. The way that you handled a loss did not do anything except create that generational trauma that I am trying to rid now. That my generation and the generations that we've caused harm for because we didn't know anything better about it. You're telling us that when we never had to see, we never spoke about the baby again, we never saw the baby. That's just causing harm. And I know that that was your way, but those ways are gone. We need to talk about it and get it out of our bodies, get those feelings out of our bodies, so that we can wake up tomorrow and see a brighter sun. And each day that scab will become more formidable. And what does that mean? It won't fall off? Of course not. The scab will fall on your heart from that deep, deep seated hurt, will fall off and reform, and will fall off again and reform stronger and fall off and stronger, until the point where you're like, wow, I actually smiled today. Wow, I went on a family trip. Wow, I had dinner with my extended family. I attended a family gathering. Wow, now I still haven't gotten to this point because I still don't do baby showers. And like I said, it's been 14 years. But wow, I did not cry when I received a baby shower notice. And my reason, let me just state my reason for not doing baby showers. Baby showers are asinine to me. Let's plan something for that birthing person the way that other cultures that are not US based do for their birthing people. Let's meal prep for them. Let's plan a night where tonight is my night to cook for that family and take the clothes and wash them and bring them back nicely folded. Let's plan tonight for me to fill that person's cabinet rather than X, Y, and Z. So there are so many things that we could be doing for our families. But one thing is to show up and keep your opinions to yourself.
And I thank you so much for saying that, especially when it comes down to the religious piece, because I mean, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I believe in God and what God has done for me, but we don't know what the other person's beliefs are. They might believe in God as well, but I mean, we don't know. And a lot of times, even with us being closely knit family, sometimes our thoughts and processes when it comes down to religion are not the same. So, and you're right, we need them to be leaning in to not just Jesus, not just God, but whatever spiritual deity they believe in. We need them to be leaning into them during this period, during this grieving process, the same as we need to be doing with every grieving process. We need to be leaning in, not leaning away, and not saying, okay, well, woe is me, and why me, and why did you take this from me, or how come this is happening to me? we need to be able to lean in and get a clearer and a closer and a clarity about the situation of what we're doing. You also brought up an excellent point when you said stop putting what you used to do onto the new generation, because the new generation don't do things like that, right? And we, a lot of times, I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it, right? I have a son, he says things and does things, and I'm like, I can't wrap my mind around why he's doing it, because I'm like, but I wouldn't do it. But in reality, I have to say, I wouldn't do what he's doing, but I would do it in a different way, right? But I can't, I can't, and I had to come to reality in terms with myself. Do I ask him questions? Sometimes, yes, I still ask him questions. I'm going to always ask him questions. But what I've done is I've moved away from, I ain't never do it like that. Or why are you doing it like that? I mean, being so judgmental with him, because I realized, he's 30 now, right? And he got prayerfully, he has a long way to go in his life. And so he's going to learn how to stumble, how to bust his head to the white meat show, and then come back and regroup and get himself together. He's going to learn all of that. And it's not on me to teach him that. It's on whatever, like I said, I believe in Jesus and I'm a Christian. So it's on God to actually get that to him. But if he came home and said, or he not home, but if he called me on the phone and said, hey, Mom, I'm changing my religion, this is what I am now, I would have to actually honor him. So it's helpful for me, to hear. I'm like, Dad, she just smacked me right in my face, telling me don't the grandparents don't do, and I'm like, but that's me. And so I thank you for actually bringing that case, a point of don't put it on them like that. And and the third thing that you just brought up, which I love that idea, and I'm going to tell you why I love the idea. I love the idea because, one, we don't know if the baby is going to actually make it, right? So, I mean, we don't know, right, if the baby is going to be able to live or, unfortunately, a demise, right? We don't know that. And the mom, when the mom comes home during that postpartum period, she needs help. She doesn't need to be standing on her feet. And unfortunately, for money's sake, pregnancy, now they only keep you in the hospital for a day before they send you home unless there's some complications. So the mom doesn't have time after the baby is born to actually go through the process, go through the postpartum process of actually, taking care of herself. So coming home to a house that's clean, food that's been prepped, or all she got to do is put it in the microwave or stick it in the oven, things that help the mom, that's great. And then once I'll never forget, I tell this story all the time, but I'll never forget when my son was pregnant, right? And my doctor told me, because my son's heartbeat was fast. And so someone, not just someone, but people told me, like, hey, if your heartbeat is fast, you're having a girl. So his heartbeat was fast. So I'm having a girl, right? My doctor that I had at the time, she was like, okay, who told you that? Right. And so she said, you having a girl? And I kid you not, Nneka, I brought everything for a little girl. Everything for a little girl. And my older sister, who I was living with at the time, she said, if you have a boy, I'm going to make you stand in line and take all that stuff back to the store that you bought. My baby shower, I told everybody, I'm having a girl. I'm having a girl, right? Everything was a girl because the baby hadn't been here yet, right? And so when I had a boy, of course, my sister did, maybe she rest in peace. What she did was she made me stand in line and take everything back. She said, when you taking all that stuff back that you brought, because I told you not to buy it. And I couldn't be mad at her because the doctor had told me the same thing. Well, who tells you, you hearing that, like, that's not making sense. But no, at one point in time did anyone, especially my doctors, say your baby's heartbeat is fast for a reason. There's a possibility that he's having heart problems while he's in your womb. That never ever came up until after he was born and after he started growing, and he had to have open heart surgery. But that never came up, right? So I got all this little girl stuff, and likewise people have all this stuff, Well, if you take care of mom first, then once the baby gets here and you know what the baby is and you know what size of them, Lord, I mean, you can't even really go by size because heck, he was in 6 months when he was 3 months old. You know what I'm saying? So the clothes, he outgrew the clothes before he even got a chance to wear them. So you're spending money, 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 and you instead of spending love, 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 right? The mom doesn't get any love because everything's going to the baby. So I thank you for bringing that up, and I also thank you for saying that we in American culture are perhaps maybe the only culture where when a mother is pregnant, the the to look at is for the baby. It's not for the mom. Okay, well, you did your job. You had the baby. You take care of the baby. And so that's disheartening to hear that we are a culture that believes in more so spoiling the baby before the baby gets here instead of loving on that mom and taking care of that mom and making sure that mom has the proper things that she needs to have in order to actually have a great postpartum period, right? I mean, even like you said, listening, so many people, so many women have postpartum depression. Well, I mean, if you're a woman that's having postpartum depression and nobody's paying any attention to you because they're paying all the attention to the baby, look, I mean, we're talking about mental health. Look at what that's putting on a mother who might be having postpartum depression. Well, nobody's paying attention to her. Nobody's asking her open-ended questions. Nobody's having a conversation. So how is she supposed to be? At the end of the day, how is she supposed to be? So this is for everyone that's listening, and no matter what time you're listening, when the baby is born, yeah, do some stuff and say some stuff, but always have that conversation, even if the baby is not here and you're having a baby shower. Put some of that emphasis into, okay, well, let's see what the mom needs, and if she needs some extra things, let's get it from mom, and we'll worry about the baby when the baby gets here, and we know the baby is healthy and the baby's not going to have those problems. So I thank you so much for saying that. Now I do know that you mentioned a little earlier that you're also a doula. So one, can you tell us what the doulas are, the definition of those doulas, and can you tell us actually what goes into becoming a doula? Because so many people think that being a doula, oh, they could just snap their fingers, or oh, this is something you could do at night, when it really isn't. So could you explain to us what the doulas are, the doula concepts that you have, the well, not concepts, but the doula certifications that you have, as well as what does it take to be not just be a doula, but be a dynamic doula such as yourself?
You're so sweet. And let me just say that I have not physically been in the doula space. Physically meaning I've not. My last doula client was in June of 2021, and I decided that I'm not going to prison for slapping a nurse who might be a little bit flip. So I said, okay, it's not best for me to be in that space anymore. But when I was doulaing for about, I'd say that was about 10 years. Um, I trained with ancient song. I certified with stillbirth day. I certified with innate traditions. I've certified with grandma's hands, um, and others, Madriella, um, several others. I've trained. I'm Dona trained, um, and continue. And I'm now in school getting a degree in public health to because of what I learned as while I was a doula, because I worked as a high risk doula, because and I want to thank the doulas who, when I needed my certifying births, they gave me all the births they didn't want: the schizophrenic clients, the high risk clients, the clients that had coded in past births. They did not realize they were doing me a favor in doing that. So I want to thank them because it really did make the difference. And I'm noticing that there are trainings that are 2 days long, maybe 4 hours long or a few hours long or one day long. Yes, you may get the training, but it takes more than training to give you the experience that you need to support the people that you support. Doulas do not catch babies. I'm going to say that right now. We are support people. We give education. We're there for emotional support, in some instances, spiritual support, but at no point in time there, it may happen by accident if no one else is in the space, or we are traveling from the home or from wherever to the hospital and they happen to plop out the baby right then and there. But we do not intentionally catch babies. Any doula that says that they do, you want to run, because that is beyond our scope of practice. We could be heavily fined if something goes wrong. We are not trained for the bad things. And as a person who has suffered a loss, I would not want anyone to put themselves into the hands of someone who could possibly um, exacerbate their health, could possibly cause any kind of harm. There's literally a doula for everybody, for everything that you go through in life. I'm still doing the fertility piece. And of course, here comes my cat, who has to be here. And in the middle of everything, she decided she wanted to be held and loved. So that's sweetie. Um, but um, Cats have doulas, dogs have doulas. There are people who need go to dental appointments that have doulas. So literally, there is a doula for every facet of life. When you're looking at the doulas along the trajectory of the lifespan, we have fertility, birth, bereavement, postpartum, and end of life mainly. There's a menopause doula as well. So what we do is we provide support in any life phase if you're certified to do so. Where do you go to get trained? If you're a person who will be serving people who look like us, you want to go to people who look like us. What's sad is many of us do not have that opportunity because of especially if you want to work within the Medicaid setting. There are very few states that are not requiring you to certify with the non melanated trainings. They're going to the popular trainings, which are very generalized. They do not give the information or the statistics that the places such as Earth's Natural Touch. Um, what other ones? There is, oh goodness, I can't remember, but there National Black Doula Association. My organization has just launched a full spectrum training, which is not like the typical training, because we're teaching from fertility through birth, through bereavement, through postpartum, mental health, etc. So there are several facets that you need to know as a doula. Now, everybody's out here wanting to be a doula, and that's perfectly fine. But why do you want to be a doula? Do you want to be a doula to be on that bandwagon? Or do you want to be a doula to support that person so that they will have a better birth outcome? I never got rich, being a doula. It's not, I'm rich in character, but I'm not rich in finances. And that's because I've never charged anyone as a doula. But that is something that people it can cost a bit to hire a doula. It can cost anywhere from, depending on where you live, from 600 up. And the best way to be able to finance your doula is, that baby shower that you're planning to have. Sign up at Be Her Village and add in a link to be able to afford a doula, and have your people that will be buying you all of these cute things for your maybe daughter, maybe son, whichever it is, to purchase, to donate money towards your doula. You need one.
And I thank you once again for that information, because I'm sure many people have not heard of. You said it's Be the Village.
Be Her Village.
Be
It's a
Her Village.
virtual platform that you can, there are doulas signed up on there, on one side, and then the consumer can sign up that needs a doula, and what, or even before, while you're thinking about becoming pregnant, you can sign up, create your portal, start interviewing doulas, not just doulas, start interviewing if you want a midwife, interview your midwife. Think about whether you want to give birth in a hospital setting or a home setting, if that's, available where you live. You really need to start thinking before you get that positive pregnancy test.
And
And
thank and you know what, I hate to cut you off,
that's
but I
fine.
do want to actually say this right now, and then I'm gonna let you finish your thought. What she's saying makes so much sense, and it does with everything in healthcare. Be proactive. Do not sit there and wait and say, okay, well, I'm just going to wait for it to happen. Especially if you're of the black or brown skin persuasion, do not sit there and say, well, I'm just going to wait for it to happen and then I'm going to do something, because it's going to actually detrimentally hurt you, hurt your family, hurt your community. Because guess what, people? I tell you this all the time. Ain't nobody come to save us. We got to save ourselves, and we cannot retroactively save ourselves. We have to be proactive about taking what we know, what we don't know, putting it together and making it make some sense for us. We can't, we got to get off this. Well, you know what, whenever it happens, or what I hear a lot is, well, I'm too young. They talking about older people. Um, Read the news. Read the news. You need me to send you some articles? I could send you some articles on how these health conditions that are detrimentally hurting our communities are hurting us, because they're slapping us where it hurts, which is at our young people, right? Our young people are the ones that are coming up with now these new cases of measles, these new cases of the chicken pox, these new cases of cancer. These are our babies. These are our babies. So once again, quilt with love. Let's bring this real, right? Let's bring this real and start doing things that are proactively being done when it comes down to our health care. And Nneka, you can go ahead and complete your thought process.
We cannot afford, as Sandra said, we can't afford to be reactive, because guess what? You won't be here to react.
Right.
And even with selecting, you need to interview before you even consider hiring someone, because think about it this way. Would you just leave your child's care to just anyone? And the answer is no. Would you just walk out and say eeny meeny miny mo about your child's care? The answer is no. So why would you do that with your maternal health care, with your obstetrics care? And another good resource is the Earth app. The B is left off for bias, because once you find someone that you might want to interview, look and see if someone has reported them on the Earth app, to see how they treated that person. If they're on there and it's negativity, red flag, red flag, red flag, run. But if they're not on there, go ahead and see them. And if you're feeling uneasy with them, remember, this is one of the most vulnerable positions you will be in your life. Do not move forward with them, and understand that if you go to a large practice, you're going to meet everybody in that practice by the time you give birth. And is that what you want? And if not, you need to look to find a place that better aligns with your vision of what you want for your birth.
And that guy, thank you so much for that. As we get ready to close, what I do want to actually say is this. If you can, once again, our website is newly revamped. We've got a ton of information on our website. Our website is www.medihelps. And once again, that medihelps is medihelpz.com. I also invite you to visit our YouTube channel where you can actually get information. Actually, you can see a ton of the videos that we've already laid out that cover health information and healthcare resources. You can reach me at Sandra at Chalms, which is CHLMS. You can reach me at Sandra at chalmsfoundation.com if you have any questions, or you're like, well, Sandra, I got some information that I want to share, and perhaps you want to be an upcoming guest, or to lead the discussion. Please reach out to me. I would love to speak with you. I would love to talk with you in reference to that. So once again, if you can give our YouTube channel a look at, if you can go to our website and view that, that will also be awesome. If I don't have your email and you're interested in getting our newsletter, please send me your email so that I can send you our monthly newsletters that go out. So that's how you get in touch with Sandra, and that's also how you get in touch with Chalms. And Nneka, could you give us the information for where they can reach you at?
Just well, my new website will be forthcoming. It's in the process of being built now by one of my pale advocates. But you can reach me at nnekajhall@gmail.com, or via, what is it? I forgot the Pixie Set website. So just reach out via email if you're interested, or on LinkedIn. I'm Nneka Hall. On Facebook, I'm Nneka Hall. On every platform, I'm me. No cute name or anything. You can find QUILT on Facebook as well. You can find Mother is Supreme there, etc. So you can Google me and find me pretty much anywhere you need to find me.
And you know what? And also, if you need to find her and you're like, well, I know she said something, send me an email. Say, Sandra, who is that you had on that talked about XYZ, talked about the maternal, talked about the fetal health and loss? Please reach out to me so that I can give you her information. It's all about us collaborating and not competing. Together, we will go far. Apart and alone, we'll get to a certain point, but then how you gonna keep going, right? There's power in numbers. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out the video for today. And Nneka, with that beautiful infectious smile of yours, there you go, girl. What I do want you to do is just give us one tip leading out of this conversation.
Remember that May is Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month. Be gentle with yourself. If you need help, seek out help. If you don't know where to find someone, go to the Therapy for Black Girls site if you are of melanated skin. And you'll be able to find someone in your area that can work with you and help you.
Thank you so much. And I want you, each of you, whether it's nighttime and you're looking at this while we're doing it live, whether it's during the daytime, wherever you are, at whatever time you are watching this, please know that we at Chalmers Mental Health Foundation, we appreciate you. And please do continue to have an awesomely blessed day. Thank you.